So this is the Raspberry Pi 400 that I've bought to try and test to see if it can work with Microsoft Teams so that Max can use it for his schoolwork if he needs to. This is the full starter set, which is, I think it was £92.50 from Pi Moroni, which is a Sheffield based shop, so that's why I got it from there. With that you get, so this is the box, you get this really quite nice, actually quite chunky starter book on. It covers how to do the setup, and it's got other stuff in like using Scratch, which is like a coding thing for kids, stuff like that. You get the keyboard, which has the computer built in, and it comes preloaded with the SD card that carries the operating system. You've still got the I/O pins you get on a normal Raspberry Pi, so you can still use it for other things. You've got two HDMI, Ethernet socket, a couple of extra USBs, two USB 3s, I can't quite see. And in this set you also get the mouse, and you get a micro HDMI to HDMI to connect, and the power unit. I generally find with Raspberry Pis that you purchase in the power unit that they supply is better, because although you can power them from other devices, they're quite vulnerable to fluctuations, and you always get stuff on the screen saying it's underpowered or not enough power, even if it still works. It's just a more stable way of doing it. Anyway, so there was a little bit of tinkering with the setup, but that's mainly to do with the fact that this is a pretty crap, cheap TV I've got it connected to as much as anything. Took a bit of time. I didn't realise that there's two HDMI outputs, so only the first one carries sound by default, or only one of them can carry sound, so anyway. And sometimes you do have an issue with getting it to fit the screen, but I've sorted all that. It's not too difficult, and to be honest, as default it just had a little black band. It wouldn't be the end of the world. And now it's settled down, it seems to be working okay. This is the web browser, which is based on Chrome, or is a version of Chrome. So basically, if you wanted to use Microsoft Teams, because there's a Linux base, you can't obviously download Microsoft programs, but that's why I wanted to test this. I wanted to see how well it worked doing it from the browser. So I've logged in already with Max's account. It's a touch laggy, but it's not terrible, and it certainly wouldn't stop doing work, I don't think. I've logged in, so I go straight into his class, and you can just see it's a touch slow, but it's less than £100, so what I expect. And let me just try and find one that's got. So yeah, Word documents can be a little bit inconsistent. I think partly this is because the Max's school chooses to take a photograph of the textbook and paste it in, which I think is just a little bit demanding. So you can see it's a bit of time to load up. But if you go to reading view, then it just works a lot better. Look, there's 4 images. I think that's why it was just having trouble loading there. When the Word document is just text, it tends to be fine. You can see that. Yeah, that's a bit of a. It's having a bit of trouble now. Catching up with itself, I think. So not wholly successful with Word documents, but I think you'd be able to get there. There's a movie. Loads much better.
Hi everyone.
Actually, the movie experience is quite smooth. I haven't tried it with a live meeting yet, and it doesn't come with a camera and things like that, so you'd be able to join a meeting. But whether you'd actually use it, I suppose that's the next test, really. But in general, it's gone pretty well so far. Whether you'd find it usable for your kids' homework, I suppose, depends really on your own preference. It's a bit slow, it's a bit glitchy, but it'll do it. And I think, given that when we first had the first lockdown, I had a look around, there weren't that many a lot of laptops have been snapped up, and a lot of the cheap laptops, I mean, you're talking, you're going to have to spend $250 about that to get even a basic spec one. So it might be worth a shout for you. Or alternatively, if you want to save on cost a little bit, another option would be to just get a Raspberry Pi 4. If you've got your own keyboard and mouse, get a Raspberry Pi 4, and you can have a go at sorting out your own SD card and power. Buy the power, I would say. And the other thing that this has inside is it has got a heatsink, which you don't get as standard as a Raspberry Pi, which I probably recommend as well. But I mean, so far so good.